parents announced. Adults only holiday this year. Then wondered why every adult chose my tiny rented cabin instead. I felt my fork stop halfway to my mouth as the words hung over the Sunday roast like steam. Mum said it in that falsely bright tone she uses when she's already decided something and is pretending it's a fun group idea. Dad nodded along, carving the lamb with exaggerated care, like he'd rehearsed this moment with her. My sister Lily's hand froze over the gravy boat. Tom, my brother, kept chewing like maybe if he acted normal, it would become normal. The kids, Lily's 2 and Tom's 1, were in the lounge room, shrieking at some cartoon. The smell of mint sauce and burnt potatoes, the clink of cutlery, the ticking of the ugly chicken-shaped clock, all of it fell weirdly sharp into focus. Adults only, Mum repeated, smiling around the table. Proper grown-up time this year. No sticky fingers, no nappies, no kids' menus. Just us adults. She wiggled her eyebrows at Lily and Tom like they were all in on some joke. Then she turned to me and patted my arm. And obviously, Mia will have the little ones. You're always so good with them. My mouth went dry. Sorry, what? I asked, even though I'd heard her perfectly. My voice came out thin. Dad chuckled like I'd made a joke. Come on, love, don't start, he said. You know what your mum means. We're booking that big place up the coast, the one with the pool and the spa. Adults only. We've earned it. He shot Lily and Tom a look. Right. Lily forced a smile I recognized from our childhood, her I'm not starting this shit smile. Yeah, sounds nice, she said. Jay, her husband, squeezed her knee under the table. Tom cleared his throat. When were you thinking? First week of January, Mum said promptly. We checked prices this morning. If we lock it in this week, it's not too bad. We'll cover half as our treat, and you 3 couples can split the rest between you. For couples, I said before I could stop myself. If it's adults only. Mum laughed, a sound that made me want to crawl out of my own skin. Oh, Mia, don't be silly, she said. It'll be me and your father, obviously, and Lily and Jay, and Tom and Priya. We can't just cart the kids off to strangers. They'll stay here. With you. Auntie Mia's holiday camp. She said it like that, with jazz hands like she'd invented a brilliant marketing slogan. Some gravy slopped off the spoon onto my plate. My hand was shaking. You've got the space, Dad added. And you're good with them. They adore you. I stared down at my plate. My vision had gone a little fuzzy around the edges. My first thought was ridiculous and petty. My space is a 1-bedroom cabin that I rent month to month, not a daycare center. My second thought was the familiar old punchline, of course. Of course they thought this. It was late November when that conversation happened, which meant we were already in the vortex of end-of-year everything, Christmas decorations and shopping centers, school concerts, my email pinging with work deadlines. My parents' annual summer holiday had been a thing as long as I could remember. When we were kids, it was caravans and camping grounds. As we got older and they got better jobs, it upgraded to holiday parks and beach houses. Always somewhere with a pool and a bar Dad could walk to. Somewhere along the way, the holiday stopped being about family, in the equal sense, and started revolving around Mum's vision of herself. She would call it our big family trip, and talk about it for months, but somehow, the reality always ended up with her on a deck chair with a cocktail, while everyone else scrambled around her. As the eldest, Lily had been the first built-in babysitter. When she was 16 and I was 13 and Tom was 10, she missed an entire day at the theme park to sit with your brother. He gets overwhelmed. Because Mum needed to go shopping with Dad. When Lily moved out at 20 and then had kids at 23, I slid neatly into the vacancy. By the time I hit my mid-20s, Mia will watch them had become a family reflex. Mum said it like you might say, we'll bring towels. Parties, weddings, random Tuesday nights. Anytime someone needed childcare, my phone pinged. I was the one with the flexible job. I was the one without kids. I was the one living just up the road. And honestly, for a long time I didn't fight it. I love my niece and nephews. I work as a support worker in disability services. Caring is, unfortunately, something I'm good at. I didn't have some glamorous social life I was missing out on. Babysitting them instead of going to a bar didn't feel like a big sacrifice, until it did. The shift was gradual. Little resentments piled up. The time Lily dropped the kids off 2 hours early without asking because she assumed I'd be home. The time Tom forgot to come back when he said he would and I missed a date. The worst was a Christmas 3 years ago when I stayed behind at the holiday house because my youngest nephew was napping, and they all went out on a dolphin cruise without me. Mum came back sunburned and happy, clutching photos. "We tried to wake him," she said breezily. "But you know what he's like." "I do know what he's like." I also know no one asked if I minded missing the only thing I'd been excited about that trip. When I tried to say I was a bit sad about it, Mum rolled her eyes. "You're so dramatic, Mia. You got a whole morning to yourself. Most mothers would kill for a break like that." "I'm not a mother," I'd said. She'd given me a pitying look. "Well, whose fault is that?" It's hard to explain how tiny little comments like that, layered over years, get under your skin. It wasn't just holidays. It was birthdays where she told the story about how Mia was always the clingy one. It was the way she'd described me to strangers. "This is our Mia, she's the soft-hearted one, always helping everyone but herself." It sounds affectionate until you realize it's also a script. Soft-hearted equals boundaryless. Helpful equals available. The cabin was my attempt to write a different story. After the dolphin cruise incident, I had what my therapist gently called an accumulation of fatigue, and my doctor bluntly called burnout. I took some time off work, cut down on extra shifts, and started looking for a place that was mine. Not mine and my roommates. Not my old room in my parents' place. But actually mine. It was humbling. Sydney rent is a joke and my job isn't exactly lawyer money. I ended up 50 minutes northwest, in a small town that would probably describe itself as leafy on a real estate brochure. The cabin is at the back of someone's property, technically a granny flat, but that makes it sound like a box. It's nicer than that. Timber floors, big windows, a little deck that looks onto scrubby bush. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that's basically a bench with a stove, and a lounge room just big enough for a couch and an op-shop coffee table. The first night I slept there, I lay in bed and listened to frogs and distant traffic and thought, no one can stroll in here without permission. No one can dump kids on me and say, "Just for a few hours," without at least texting first. It felt intoxicating. Of course, my parents framed it as a phase. "It's cute," Mum said the first time she saw it, looking around like she was inspecting a holiday rental. "Like a little cabin. Very you. When you meet someone and want a proper house, you can rent it out." When I said I'd signed a year lease because I liked it, and hadn't made any plans beyond that, she pursed her lips. "Well, just remember," she said, "this is lovely for now, but it's not really suitable for a family." By family, she meant future children. Which she reminds me I'm leaving too late. Approximately every 3 months. All of that context was swirling in the back of my mind at that Sunday lunch when she announced the adults-only holiday. The words pinged off 1,000 old bruises. "Adults only," said to my siblings, then used on me like a joke. "Obviously, Mia will have the little ones." Like I was the help. "So let me get this straight," I said, putting my fork down carefully because my hand was still shaking. "You're planning an adults-only holiday for you, Dad, Lily and Jay, and Tom and Priya. And you want me to spend a week with 3 kids under 7, in a 1-bedroom cabin, in summer, so you can be adults?" Mum's smile thinned. "No one said you had to have them at your place," she said. "You could stay here. It's just, we thought you'd prefer your own space." Dad jumped in. "We're not asking you to do it for free. he said in the tone of a man about to offer a wildly insulting amount. We'll throw in some money. $100 a kid. I stared at him. $100, I repeated. To give up my holiday, my New Year, and spend a week as unpaid childcare so you can lie by a pool. You're not giving up your holiday, you don't even like the beach, Mum said. I do like the beach. I just don't like watching other people enjoy it through a window. Lily cleared her throat. Mom, Dad, maybe we should. Mum cut across her. You kids are always saying how exhausting it is traveling with children, she said. We're giving you a break. You should be thankful. Most grandparents your father's age would never volunteer to take their adult children on holidays at all. In what universe is this you taking us on holiday? I asked. I could feel my ears burning. You're asking Lily and Tom to pay half the cost of their own trip and me to work it. It's family. Mum snapped. Nobody's working. I looked at Lily, then at Tom. Part of me hoped they'd jump in. Say, yeah, this is weird. Or, if Mia's not invited, we're not going. Something. Anything. Tom suddenly found something fascinating in his mashed potato. Priya, his wife, looked uncomfortable but stayed quiet. Lily opened her mouth, then closed it again. Jay squeezed her leg under the table again, like a human mute button. That, more than anything Mum said, made my chest twist. I'm not doing it, I heard myself say. My voice sounded small but firm. I'm not staying behind to watch the kids so you can have an adults-only holiday. If you want to go away without children, organize childcare like normal adults. Book a kids' club, hire a sitter, ask Jay's parents. Don't just assume I'll do it. The silence was immediate. The kind of silence that buzzes in your ears. Mum blinked. There it is, she said in a tight voice. Drama. I knew this would happen. It's not drama to say no, I replied. I could feel my heart pounding now, but there was a strange lightness with it. I love the kids. I'm happy to help sometimes. Sometimes. Not always. Not automatically. Not with zero consultation. You should be grateful we even thought to include you. She shot back. You don't have a partner, you don't have children. We could have just gone with the couples and left you out of it entirely. You did, I said. That's literally what you're doing. Dad sighed heavily. We're not having this argument, he said like he was a judge calling order. Mia, you've made your little point. We'll sort something else out. Let's just enjoy lunch. My little point. The rest of the meal was thick with that tense politeness where everyone talks about weather and work while ignoring the elephant sitting in the gravy boat. As soon as plates were cleared, I helped with dishes, kissed the kids, and drove back to my cabin with my chest buzzing and my hands still shaking on the wheel. On the way, my phone pinged in the cup holder. I ignored it until I was parked in my driveway, the sky turning that soft pinkish gray it gets in early summer. When I finally picked it up, 3 new messages sat in the family chat. Mum. I don't appreciate being attacked at lunch. Mum. Your siblings are trying their best, and so are we. Dad. We'll talk when everyone's calmer. I stared at the screen. The chat name, Fam Jam Christmas Tree Sun, suddenly looked ridiculous. Another notification popped up, this time from Lily, privately. Lily. Hey. You okay? I typed. Not really. Then deleted it. Typed again. I'm fine. Just tired. 3 dots. Then. I get why you're upset. I waited for the but. It came right on cue. But it's just a week. And Jay's parents really can't have the kids, they've already booked a trip. I feel stuck in the middle. I stared at that for a long time. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I know you feel stuck, I wrote eventually. But I'm not a third option after grandparents. She didn't reply. Later that week, in therapy, my psychologist asked, what would it look like for you to hold the line on this? And I laughed because holding the line made it sound neat and strategic, not like my entire nervous system screaming at me that saying no to my mother equals abandonment equals death. I already said no, I said. At lunch. In front of everyone. That was huge for me. And what happened? She asked. I thought about Mum's texts. Dad's sigh. Lily's. It's just a week. I'm the bad guy now, I said. The selfish one. The one ruining Christmas. She tilted her head. Is that a new role for you? I snorted. No, I admitted. I've been the difficult one since puberty. It just usually comes with me giving in anyway. This time I'm trying not to. What do you want to do for that week? She asked. The question startled me. No one in my family had asked that. Not once. I pictured my cabin. The little deck. The overtime I'd been working and the annual leave I'd put in for, mostly because my boss had said gently, "You need a break, Mia, you can't pour from an empty cup." I'd actually like to have a holiday, I said slowly. Here. In my cabin. Sleep in. Read. Maybe have some friends up. Go for swims at the river. I don't need a fancy resort. I just want a week where I'm not responsible for anyone's emotional temperature. She smiled, and I could see the little glint in her eye that means she's about to nudge me someplace uncomfortable. What would it be like to say that out loud to your family? Horrifying, I said immediately. Then, after a beat, necessary. That night, I opened the family chat and stared at the blinking cursor. I could practically hear Mum's voice saying, "Don't start. Don't make a big deal out of things. Don't be dramatic." Finally, I typed. Just so it's clear, I'm not available to do full-time childcare over New Year. I've booked annual leave and I'm using it to rest at my place. Happy to see the kids another time. I hit send before I could talk myself out of it. The reply was almost instant. Mum. Wow. Mum. After everything we do for you. Then, half an hour later from Tom. I'm sure we can figure something out. And nothing from Lily. The next few weeks were a low-level Cold War. Every time I saw Mum, she made some comment about how busy I was or how some people forget where they came from once they move. Up to the mountains, her term for my very not mountainous suburb. At one point she said, in front of a neighbor, "We asked Mia to help with the kids but she's got a holiday." With this little eye roll on the word. A few days into December, a separate group chat pinged into existence. Beach 24 plans beach with umbrella. With just Mom, Dad, Lily, Tom, and the partners. I wasn't invited. Lily sent me screenshots of parts of it. Mom. So it will be me and Dad, LNJ, TMP. No kids. Adults only. Tom. Have you sorted childcare then? Mom. We'll sort it. Maybe Priya's mom can have, nephew. Nieces, can stay with Elle's friend Fran? Lily. That's a lot to ask PPL for a week, Mom. Mom. Well, if Mia hadn't decided she's unavailable, face with rolling eyes. Seeing myself talked about in a chat I wasn't in made my stomach twist. At the same time, it weirdly clarified things. I wasn't overreacting. They really did see me as an infinite resource. A week after that, Lily called me out of the blue. Hey, she said, sounding tired. Got a minute? Sure, I said, half expecting her to ask me again to reconsider. Instead, she sighed. Mum's doing my head in, she said. She keeps dropping hints about how ungrateful we are. Says if we loved her at all we'd go on this holiday because she might not have many left. The guilt trip greatest hits. Classic. What do you want to do? I asked. Lily was quiet for a moment. Honestly, she said, I want an actual break. Not from my kids, from her. She let out a humorless laugh. Jay said he'd rather pitch a tent in your backyard than spend a week being emotionally blackmailed in a resort. A weird, fizzy feeling fluttered in my chest. He said that? Yeah, she said. He also said, "Why don't we all just go up to Mia's for a couple of days instead? She actually listens when you say you're tired." I looked around my tiny cabin. "There's not really space for everyone," I said automatically. "It's tiny. So? We can bring an air mattress. The kids can sleep on the floor. It's not about space, it's about who we feel safe with." Safe. That word lodged in my throat. "I mean," I said slowly, "you're welcome. Obviously. But your kids are still kids. I thought you wanted a break from them." She exhaled. "Don't tell Mom, but I'd rather share a bed with my 4-year-old who kicks me than with her guilt," she said. "Look, I'm not saying we bail entirely. We could maybe go up to the resort for a day trip? Or do separate weekends? I don't want her adults-only thing on her terms to be the only option." We ended up sketching out a vague alternative. They'd still technically keep the booking for the resort trip. Dad had already put a deposit down. But they'd shorten their stay to 3 nights instead of 7, and on the other 4 days, they'd drive up to mine in rotating groups. It sounded chaotic and a bit exhausting, but in a my-choice way, not in a performing for Mum way. I didn't say anything about that to my parents. It wasn't a secret, exactly, but I knew if we told them ahead of time, they'd weaponize it. "Oh, so you have time for her but not for us," etc. 2 nights before they were due to leave for the resort, Mum called. "We've sorted the childcare," she announced without preamble. "You'll be pleased to know we don't need you." "I never said I'd be pleased," I said. "I just said I'm not available." "Same thing," she said briskly. "Anyway, Lily's friend is having the girls. Priya's mum is having nephew. It's all arranged. We're leaving Sunday morning. You can come and see us off if you like." It was such a loaded sentence. You can come and see us off. Like I was a child watching the grown-ups go somewhere better. "I've got plans Sunday," I said. She made a little dismissive noise. "Of course you do," she said. "Well, have fun in your little cabin." My plans on Sunday were, in fact, clean the cabin, panic about whether I'm allowed to have nice things, maybe cry in the shower. On Sunday morning, I woke up early anyway. Old habits. I lay there listening to birds and the faint hum of the highway and thought about them driving up the coast. I pictured Mum in her visor and her beach captain, Dad complaining about the cost of petrol, Lily and Tom sitting in the back seats of their respective cars, half excited, half anxious. I wondered if they felt guilty. I wondered if I should. At 9:07 a.m., my phone buzzed. "Lily. ETA 11. Is there parking for 2 cars or should we leave one somewhere?" For a second my brain didn't parse it. Then my heart did a weird flip. "Wait, what?" I typed. She replied immediately. "Surprise. We're starting the week with you instead." A second later, another message popped up, this time from Tom. "Tom. Hey, hope that's okay. Kids are with childcare PPL today. We thought we'd come up first, then head to the resort on Tuesday. I sat up too fast and got dizzy." "Yeah, it's okay," I wrote. "Of course. I just didn't know." Tom. Didn't want to give Mum a full 48 hours to lay on the guilt. We told them we had plans this arvo. I swung my legs out of bed and stared at the floorboards. My tiny cabin suddenly felt like the center of something. 2 hours later, my driveway, which is really just a flattened bit of dirt next to a gum tree, was full. Lily's SUV, Tom's hatchback. The sound of car doors slamming, kids' voices, Jay's laugh. The smell of sunscreen and coffee drifted up the path. Lily appeared first, carrying a bag of groceries. "I brought too much," she said, slightly out of breath. We panicked and overshopped. Behind her, Jay held a portable cot. Tom had a slab of sparkling water balanced on one shoulder. Priya had a bag of toys. "Welcome to my tiny rented cabin," I said, spreading my arms. "Population, apparently everyone." They laughed, and something in my chest loosened. It was crowded. We laid a mattress on the floor for the kids. Jay rigged up a tarp outside to make a bit of shade over the deck. Lily claimed the tiny kitchen like she was on Master Chef, turning my 2-burner stove into a breakfast factory. Tom found a cricket match on his phone and propped it up on the windowsill. Priya sat cross-legged on the deck with the kids, showing them how to make daisy chains out of the scraggly lawn. At some point, Lily pulled me aside while we were hanging towels on the makeshift clothesline. "Mum called this morning," she said quietly. "Yeah?" she asked when we were dropping the kids to France. I said we're not. They'll go on Tuesday. We're going to Mia's today. There was this long pause. Then she said, "What for?" "She's not going anywhere." I said, "Exactly." I snorted. "How'd that go down?" "Not well," Lily said. "She did the whole after everything we do for you speech. Said we're choosing you over her." She gave me a sharp look. Which, to be honest, we kind of are. For today, anyway. Guilt flickered in my gut, then ebbed. "Do you feel bad?" I asked. She considered. "I feel sad that it has to be one or the other," she said. "But I also feel lighter. Being here. With you." Later that afternoon, while everyone was half dozing in the heat, my phone buzzed with a call from Dad. I stared at the screen, then stepped inside to answer. "Hi," I said cautiously. "We're at the house," he said without hello. I could hear the ocean in the background, seagulls, Mum's high voice. "Where is everyone?" What do you mean?" I asked, although I knew. "I mean," he said, voice sharpening, "we're standing here with the keys and your mother's suitcase, and there's no sign of your siblings. They were supposed to be half an hour behind us." I swallowed. "They're here," I said. "Where's here?" he demanded, although I'm 90% sure he knew. "At my place," I said. "They're starting the week with me. They'll come up on Tuesday." There was a crackle of static, then Mum's voice in the background, loud enough to hear. "What did she say?" "She's what?" "Put it on speaker." I heard the little beep as he did. "Mia," Mum said, her voice tight. "Is this your doing?" "They wanted to spend a couple of days here," I said. "With me. Then they'll come up and join you. We paid for this whole week." She snapped. "We booked a house for all of you. And you've, what? Stolen them?" "They're adults," I said. My heart was thudding, but instead of panic, I felt weirdly grounded. They made their own decision. There was a stunned silence. Then she said, low and furious, "You always do this. You twist things, make people feel sorry for you, undermine me. You just couldn't stand that we were having something without you, could you?" The words hit like a familiar slap. For a second I almost did the old thing, apologize, backtrack, offer to send everyone up immediately. Instead I took a breath and looked out the window. Lily was on the deck, hair in a messy bun, laughing at something Priya said while the kids tried to catch a blowfly in a plastic cup. Jay had my crappy little Bluetooth speaker going with some indie playlist. My tiny rented cabin was full of life and noise and love. "I didn't twist anything," I said. "You organized an adults-only holiday and excluded me, then asked me to provide free childcare. I said no. They decided they still wanted to see me. That's all." "You're not the victim here," she hissed. "I know," I said quietly. "That's kind of the point." She made an inarticulate sound of frustration. "Fine," she said eventually. "Enjoy your little pity party. Don't expect us to bend over backwards next time you need something." "I never asked you to," I replied, and realized as I said it that it was actually true. The tally of who'd bent for who was uneven and not in my favor. She hung up without saying goodbye. When I stepped back outside, Lily looked up. "How bad was it?" "Bad," I said. "But survivable." Tom handed me a beer. "To survivable," he said. We clinked bottles. The next few days were messy and good in equal measures. The kids fought over a single toy car and then fell asleep in a pile like puppies. The bathroom line-up in the morning was ridiculous. We cooked pasta with sauce from jars and it tasted like a feast because no one was criticizing how much salt we used. At night, after the kids crashed, we sat on the deck under fairy lights I'd strung on a whim back in October, and talked about everything and nothing. At one point, Jess, from a different city, joined us on video chat, phone propped up on the table. "Look at you lot," she said, grinning. "Mia's cabin of emotional refuge. Should put that on Airbnb," Jay joked. There were hard moments too. Lily cried one night after Mum sent her a long text about betrayal and family duty. Tom had a mini panic attack about making things worse. For me, I had to remind myself daily that choosing not to be a doormat is not the same as flipping the table. On Tuesday, as promised, they packed up and drove to the resort. The cabin felt oddly quiet after. I stripped beds, swept sand off the floor, gathered little socks from under the couch. That afternoon, another message came through in the family chat. A photo, Mom and Dad on a balcony, the ocean in the background. Mum's smile looked brittle. The caption: "Finally, some adult time." No mention of Lily and Tom, who, from the texts they sent me, spent most of their 3 days there walking on the beach without her, and doing their best to avoid guilt monologues. When they came back to mine on Friday for one last night before re-entry into real life, they were tired. At one point, Priya said, sprawled on my couch. She actually said, "At least Mia is where she belongs. Looking after the place for when you all come home. Like your life is a waiting room." My chest tightened. I wasn't even there. I said. "Exactly," Lily said. "She was talking about you like you were. I don't know. An extension of the house. A piece of furniture." She looked at me. It freaked me out. I realize I've let her talk about you like that for years without really hearing it. I didn't know what to do with that, except let the words sit there between us like a small, fragile bridge. Now, months later, things with my parents are strained. We see each other, but not as often. Mum's version of the holiday story, I'm told, is that Mia threw a tantrum and turned the kids against us. I'm sure to some people, I look ungrateful. They paid for a big house, after all. They tried to do a nice thing. I can hear the arguments in my head. But I keep coming back to that first moment at the table. The offhand, adults only, followed by, "Obviously Mia will have them." The way they didn't think that was a big ask. They thought it was my role. The way my siblings sat in that discomfort for a while and then chose, in their own imperfect, messy way, to do something different. Parents announced, "Adults only holiday this year." Then wondered why every adult chose my tiny rented cabin instead. It wasn't some grand revenge plan. There was no dramatic showdown in the resort lobby. What happened was small and ordinary, and for us, radical. A handful of adults looked at a pattern and, for once, didn't play along. I'm writing this partly to get it off my chest, and partly for anyone else who's been treated like the family's built-in babysitter/therapist/housekeeper while being told to be grateful for crumbs. Saying no felt like jumping off a cliff. Apparently, on the way down, there was a tiny rented cabin and some people who loved me enough to cram themselves into it.